Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and as you can see, I'm here without David because he is with the team at the Solo Practice Accelerator, which ran yesterday and is concluded today. They're having a lot of fun working on those solo practices. So for those of you who are solos, start thinking about it, get on that waiting list. It fills out really fast. And for those of you who are new to this space, this is a space where we answer your questions about how to create success and traction for your consulting firms. This space works a lot better when all of you chime in and participate and bring your questions live, right? Thank you, Jaren. You type your questions in the chat. It takes me a minute to see them. And if you don't say hi, I don't know that you're here. So I'm standing here thinking that I am here by myself, which I know it's not the case. So in the meantime, as your questions come in, Jaren is going to show the first question that came in during the week, or I think, or it has come in before. Thank you, Jaren. All right. Says we have long-standing client. It's significant work, but it ebbs and flows. We're in an ebb right now, and I feel like we need a way to reinvigorate the relationship. How do we do that with current clients? How do we expand our footprint? All right. So Ben, if you're here, thank you for your question. And hi, John. And thank you for showing up and for saying hello. So how do you broaden your network, right? How do you broaden your work with our long-standing clients? And congratulations, Ben, on long-standing client relationships, right? That's a stronghold for all of us who are in consulting. That's what we all want. We want a mix of long-standing relationships and new relationships. So Ben, assuming you're in the practice of scheduling regular looking forward touch points and moments that are outside of your engagement where you sit with your client and you say, what's coming up, what's important for you, how do we look forward at the work that's ahead? I encourage you to do two things. One is include an opportunity assessment, meaning in those touch points you would look at what else does the client need, where are the gaps, what investments is the client making, and what investments do you need to make on your part, or does the client want to do together with you, right? That's what will be highlighted in some sort of an opportunity assessment. You can do opportunity assessments on your own as part of your team. You can flag them, you can work on them ahead of time, and you can say once a year, we will do an independent opportunity assessment for your company, or for the vertical that we're working in, or for the type of work that we're working. And that's part of how we bring value to all of you. The second thing you can do, Ben, which is very compatible with opportunity assessments, is to do vision meetings. It's also great practice. It also requires a level of investments, right? And you would come in and you would bring in, hopefully with an opportunity assessment in hand of some sort, your client into a room and say, hey, how do we actually plan and look at what's ahead? And you would go through a rigorous analysis and a rigorous session of setting up the future together. Again, it's also an investment on your part. That's how you broaden your work with long-standing clients. So think about those two things, if they add value. For those of you who are here, and hello, Carol. Hello, somebody whose name I don't see. Hello, Heidi. Hello, everyone. Hello, Troy. Hello, Frank. And hello, Christian. It's great to see you too. Thank you for joining us. Okay, for those of you who are here, and there's quite a few of you, type your question, right? What question do you want answered today? And also, if you have opportunities and experience broadening your work, what else will you tell Ben? Right. In the meantime, as your questions come in, Jaren, why don't you share one of the other questions that came in during the week? Thank you. This question is from Timothy. Timothy says, my clients keep asking me for an assessment of their team, even though my project is helping them with a strategy. Okay. For instance, a CEO asked me for an assessment of his business unit leaders. I have a hard time answering this question, and I am not sure how to handle it. What should I do? All right. So thank you, team, for sending your question. it's a great reflection of the relationship you have developed with your client, right? They keep asking you to weigh in assessing their team. So from my perspective, from our perspective, this is a good signal. So uncomfortable perhaps, good signal nevertheless. So here's a caveat. If you made a commitment to the client organization at the beginning of your engagement or at any point of it, that you wouldn't evaluate client personnel, or that evaluating client personnel is not part of your work together, then restate that commitment or restate that promise and actually don't do it, right? So here's the parenthesis and here's the caveat. Remember or remind yourself if there was a commitment already in that end. And that's the only kind of carve out you would have to say, look, at the beginning of our engagement, we clearly promised the team that we would not, as part of our work together, be evaluating them. I don't feel we can cross that line at this point in time because of the commitment we explicitly made at the beginning of the engagement. Therefore, unfortunately, I can't come in and give you my opinion. However, in most instances, you wouldn't have made that commitment. And if that's the case, be a thought partner to the decision maker. Confirm why they came to you for an opinion in the first place. You can share your observations. You can share your learnings. Sharing your observations and learnings is different than doing a full-blown formal assessment of your client team. So also draw a line, right? They're asking for an opinion on their executive team. They're not asking you to do a full-blown assessment of their executive team, and draw a distinction, right? An opinion you can give, you can be a thought partner. If they're asking for formal evaluations, and I don't know what type of consulting you do, right? But if you're asking for formal evaluations, you might require to rescope. So think about it in terms of what you do. Be a thought partner to your clients as much as you can, which is why they come to you, team. All right, let me know if that's helpful. All right, John, you have a question. How do you tell a potential client, a business owner, they don't really need a consultant? Right? They need to decide if they really want to own a business or if they just like doing the technical work. So should work for someone else's company. So an interesting position, right? You want to use, and I appreciate your desire for honesty and transparency, which is a great way to serve your clients, John. By the way, we're full advocates of it. I say you just say just that, just with perhaps a different framing, right? So one invitation that all of us have as consultants is to help our clients say, look, I can answer the question you have in front of me, right? I can't be a consultant for you, which is what you're asking me to be. However, if we step back for a moment, I think there's a larger question. And in that sense, John, you're helping them reframe. You say, before I can answer that question, can I ask you a deeper question that will help us determine a path? And you will bring them through the observations that make you come to the conclusion that there's a question that precedes it, right? Do they want to own a business or do they want to work for somebody else? So bring them through your reasoning, reframe the setting, and then say just that. And in doing that, you're actually doing them a huge service. You're prompting their problem solving, their thinking. Two possible outcomes: either they recommit or they move on, right? So hopefully that helps, John. Let me know. Okay, Alvaro, hola. What type of consulting engagements can give me recurring revenue with my clients? Is it possible to build a retainer with clients in consulting so that I can have more stable revenue? Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. So what type of consulting engagements set up recurring revenue? There's a few types of engagements that have recurring revenue. There's engagements where you set them up so that you're working with clients on an ongoing basis. And Colorado pricing is a great technique towards that. It's not the only one, but it's great technique towards that. So basically, you're working with clients on an ongoing basis. You're always serving them. And what you're doing depends on the highest or most pressing need at the moment. That's one way to do it. There's also type of advisory engagements. And I don't know what kind of, Alvaro, what kind of consulting you do, right? So there's a model where you do advisory engagements. There's also a model with projects that have the opportunity for renewals. It all depends on what adds value to your client and what kind of tail there is. There's projects that are set up so that you risk share with your clients and you participate. And in some type of consulting and in some industries, that's a very viable model. So it a little bit depends on what type of consulting you do, what type of work your clients do, and how much there is an opportunity to engage. But almost across the board, there's an opportunity to set up projects where you could have a long-term relationship with clients. Now, whether that relationship has an arc that it's years long, or whether the arc is made out of renewals of projects that build on each other, that depends a little bit on the type of consulting you do. Right. Alvaro, let me know if that's useful, and if not, we'll keep building on the answer. And Heidi, you have a question as well. It says, what kind of an assessment is the CEO looking for? What are your strengths? Right. Exactly. So you're referring to the initial question we were asked when Timothy was asked about making an assessment, right, about their folks. So, and Troy, I think you were responding to John. I can read here saying pretty much just like that. Exactly. Just say it. Exactly. So whether there's an opportunity for a new service or not, Jaime, it depends a little bit on the type of consulting you do. Timothy was saying they do strategy consulting. In strategy consulting, there's a lot of opportunities to support your client's thinking, right? And it's not unusual also in other types of management consulting as well. Even when you're working in a project that is around execution or planning, when your client sees you as a true partner, they will prompt you to think with them, to help them think with them. If you're able to do that to some extent generously, when it doesn't turn into a project, that is a path that will strengthen your connection and get you to even more projects down the road. Okay, Chris, I want to get to your question as well, and hello. How do you deal with a client that relentlessly revisits decisions the team has already made because he does not like them? Oh, okay. So we've all dealt with situations like this before. We're going to give you part one of the answer, and then we're going to bring this question up next week. So Jaren, if you can, please help me make a note. So for a further answer, the first thought is at some point, we're going to talk with the client about how this is a recurring situation, right? How we're working, we're making decisions, and then we're having to revisit them. And we're going to look to talk to this client, or you're going to look to talk to this client in a way that doesn't challenge the client as a person, but that looks to unlock what's behind the process of kind of working towards that decision and then thinking the decision doesn't feel quite right. What's triggering the second thought? And that's kind of part one of how we think perhaps about this, Chris. And hopefully that's enough for today, gives you some food for thought. We'll keep talking about it next week when we start, because with that, we're almost at time today. So I'd like to give you a few invitations before we wrap up. The first invitation is that if you haven't already, please subscribe to the articles that come out every week on Wednesday. They're full of additional techniques, of tactics that you can apply immediately to your practice. Not only the articles are great, but also the comments and the interaction and the examples that you see through the comments of everyone who participates are also phenomenal. So davidafields.com/subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. All right, second invitation is connect with David, connect with myself on LinkedIn if you haven't connected yet. That way you also know when our firm is doing webinars or when our firm is doing other activities, you will be able to see that as well by staying connected with us and not just coming to our LinkedIn Lives on Monday. And the third invitation, because we have been asked and we haven't talked about it for a while, the questions you see at the beginning are questions folks send through that info email address that Jaren is sharing right now. Thank you, Jaren. So if you have questions come up during the week, send them through info@davidafields.com. That allows us to put you in kind of first in line for our LinkedIn Lives every week, and you'll get your question answered much faster that way. All right. Thank you all for being with me today. It's going to be a great week as well. We wish you a great week. And remember that our service is to our clients to create value for them, and in creating value for them, we create value for ourselves and for our practices. So be right side up, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.